change the topic a little to
Okay.
spousal consent and needing spousal consent to selling. And I
Yes.
also want to talk a little bit about divorce and selling. It's a really muddy area, and so I just want some clarity around divorce. So I'll pose a scenario to you, and you
Okay.
let me know how it works. So,
Yeah.
I'm going through a separation right now. Do I need to be separated for 1 year before we decide to sell the home, or can we sell upfront? How does it work?
Uh, the short answer is no. Separation, and I'm not a family lawyer, but just in a general sense, separation for 1 year is just a requirement before you can file for a divorce certificate.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So you can sell your home, if you're separated the day you separate, that's up to you. The consideration you need to have in the back of your mind is how you're dividing up those proceeds.
Wow. Yeah.
Because if it's a matrimonial home, regardless of whose name is on title, there is a portion entitled to both spouses. Okay,
Mm.
so let's say a situation, the house is in the wife's name, there's a divorce, the husband's name's not on title, he's still entitled to 50% of that property under the Family Law Act.
That's interesting. That's some good info to know.
Yeah, so for divorce, usually we will coordinate with the family lawyers of the parties,
Yeah.
because they would have worked out a separation agreement that determines how the proceeds are divided up and what debts are paid and things like that. But typically, on the real estate side of it, you can sell your house at any point. It's just, keeping in mind how you're going to divide up these proceeds, especially if it's a matrimonial home. Now, to answer the first part of your question, spousal consent,
Mhm.
because this will often come up in situations where spouses are separated. The general rule is if you're transferring or encumbering an interest in real property under the Family Law Act, your spouse may have an interest in that property because it could be considered net marital property. So you have to get a consent from any spouse not being registered on title. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Again, husband and wife are living in this house. It's a matrimonial home, but only the wife's name is on title.
Mhm.
Now they're separated. She can't carry the house anymore. She says she wants to sell it. Okay, that's great. She can sell the house. But then when we get to closing, I ask her, are we able to coordinate with your separated spouse to get his consent? This is something that people don't really think about, right? They think that they can just, because it's in their name, they can sell the property. That's not the case. You do need his signature, you need his consent on the acknowledgement direction for the deed to transfer your interest in this house.
Wow.
So that's something you actually want to think about before even listing your property. Because if you get to closing and he's refusing to sign this document, you're not going to be able to close the property,
No. So you
right? So
need to figure that out before you start paying all this money
yeah,
to sell this home, and you're deciding to engage a lawyer and the inspector and all of these good stuff, and then you can't sell now because your husband is not willing to sign.
right. Or they might not even be here, right? You guys are separated. They've now moved to the US or whatever, they're living their own life.
Yeah.
And now you don't know you require their
Or they
signature.
change their number. They never want to talk to you again.
Right. So it's just something to think about, and be aware of, even as a real estate agent, like it's something you might want to ask your clients what their marital status is so you can kind of account for or plan for those type of situations.
I generally do. I generally have a pretty good gauge on their marital status because I like to get personal with my clients. So they
Yeah.
usually tell me where they're at in life. But that's really good to know because I didn't even know that you need that kind of consent.